expert recommendations will significantly shape energy, housing, transportation, and agricultural policies for decades to come. The scope of this advice extends far beyond the typical political cycle. The upcoming budget will establish carbon emission levels from 2038 to 2042. However, the Climate Change Committee, the statutory advisor under the Climate Change Act, is anticipated to issue a stark warning about the UC's considerable short. This assessment is likely to cause significant unease among senior government ministers. Environmental campaigners and businesses have expressed growing concern over the rhetoric emanating from certain sections of the cabinet, which has at times appeared to prioritize economic growth over environmental objectives. Recent decisions, such as the approval of a new runway at Heathrow Airport and the continued subsidization of the Drax biomass power station, albeit at a reduced rate, have faced substantial opposition. Even more troubling has been the accompanying rhetoric. Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rachel Reeves, sparked alarm when she suggested that planning reforms would allow developers to prioritize construction over environmental considerations, stating they would focus on getting things built and stop worrying over the bats and the newts. The economic rationale for climate action is clear and well documented. Mike Childs, head of science, policy, and research at Friends of the Earth, stated, "The cost to the global economy of failing to control temperature rises could reach $38 trillion annually, according to research published in 2024. In the UK, approximately 3 million households are currently at risk of flooding, a figure projected to rise to around 8 million by 2050, according to the Environment Agency." Investing in carbon emission reduction is not merely economically prudent, it would be an act of extreme economic folly to fail to do so. Several other critical decisions remain pending, including regulations requiring housebuilders to construct low-carbon homes. However, the most contentious issue is likely to be the decision regarding new oil and gas fields in the North Sea, many of which, including specific field name, are already within the licensing system. Given Labour's manifesto commitment to not award new licenses without revoking existing ones, some within the government are advocating for the Rosebank field to proceed. With the UK significantly behind schedule in meeting its current carbon budgets, more comprehensive action will be necessary in both the short and long term across all sectors of the economy. This will require transformative changes affecting nearly every aspect of daily life, from housing and transportation to employment and diet. Ministers must finalize the 7th carbon budget by the end of June 2026. While they are expected to accept the recommended overall carbon target, the specifics of the accompanying policy recommendations remain open for debate. A spokesperson for the Department of Energy Security and Net Zero stated, Britain is back in the business of climate leadership because the only way to protect current and future generations is by becoming a clean energy superpower and leading global climate action. Even if the government achieves its target of nearly complete decarbonization of the electricity system by 2030, a significant, if this will not mark the end of the process. Electricity supply will need to roughly double to meet future demand. Ed Matthew, director of the UK program at the E3G think tank, explained, "The power system is key because both heating and transport and about 2/3 of industry will need to be electrified. The 2030 target is really just the start of the electrification journey. Home heating accounts for approximately 18% of the UC's greenhouse gas emissions, primarily from gas usage. By the 2040s, most homes will require heat pumps, but as of last summer, only about 250,000 homes were using heat pumps." Energy and Net Zero Secretary Ed Miliband recently expressed reservations about the technology, telling a select committee, "I am very wary of saying that we will stop people having gas boilers at a point when we cannot guarantee that heat pumps will be cheaper for people." Eliminating fossil fuels in industry will necessitate greater electrification and investment in new technologies, such as electric arc furnaces for steel production, hydrogen for use in chemicals, plastics, and fertilizers, and low-carbon cement alternatives. For some industries, carbon capture and storage will be the only viable option, with the government committing over £20 billion to this technology over the next 2 decades. From 2035, the sale of new petrol and diesel cars will be prohibited. However, the majority of the UK's 30 million-strong vehicle fleet will likely remain reliant on fossil fuels for several years thereafter. Electric vehicles are not a complete solution. They still generate significant air pollution and are becoming heavier, mirroring the trend in conventional cars. To meet decarbonization targets, increased reliance on public transportation will be a sen. This should also stimulate economic growth. According to the National Infrastructure Commission, the UK significantly lags behind other European countries in the availability of public transport in many major regional cities, hindering productivity. Protests by farmers against the removal of inheritance tax breaks have foreshadowed the government's strained relationship with the agricultural sector. However, farmers are crucial to any net-zero strategy, playing a vital role in afforestation, peatland preservation and restoration, and reducing agricultural emissions which have already surpassed electricity generation and are projected to become the largest source of greenhouse gases in just over a decade, according to analysis from the Energy Climate Intelligence Unit. Urgent action is needed to address methane emissions, a potent greenhouse gas, of which animal manure is a major source, to avert the most severe consequences of climate change. Communicating this message effectively will face significant challenges, including accusations of government overreach and opposition from those, like Keir Starmer, who argue that carbon targets can be met without telling people how to live their lives. Childs, of Friends of the Earth, highlighted the importance of demonstrating tangible benefits. The policy pathway for meeting our carbon budget must not only be robust enough to achieve them, it must also make people's lives tangibly better if the mandate for change is to remain strong.